We've all heard that phrase. It's on greeting cards, it's implicit in many movie plots, and it's the standard advice you hear at most every graduation ceremony. And that is follow your hearts. Follow your heart. It sounds so liberating, doesn't it? It sounds like the ultimate call to authenticity. What I want to suggest to you today, and I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian here, something that might be a bit jarring to you. I want to suggest to you that follow your heart is actually some of the most dangerous advice that you can ever give or receive. So let's think about it for a second. We've turned the human heart into a sort of secular sacrament. And by the way, when I say heart in this video, I'm talking about a metaphor. I'm not talking about the organ in our chest that pumps our blood. But we're told that deep inside of us, there's this compass that always points toward our true north. And that if we just have the courage to follow it, to listen to it, we'll be led, of course, to always perfect happiness. But if we're honest with ourselves and if we really examine our lives, we know that that's not how it works. We've all seen where that road often leads. We've seen the wreckage of lives built on the shifting sands of how I feel right now, following your heart. And there's a profound paradox here. The very thing we're told will set us free is often the very thing that ends up leading us into a cage of our own making. You see, the human heart is a landscape that's constantly changing, like the changing of the weather. One day it's bright and sunny, filled with resolve and affection, and the next day a storm rolls in. And if you use a storm as your guide, you aren't going to find your way home. You're going to find yourself lost at sea. To understand why this advice is so treacherous, we have to look at what the heart actually is from a perspective that stood the test of centuries. In our modern age, we've equated the heart with our emotions or our fickle whims. But the ancient wisdom of our faith tells us something far more profound. You see, in the Catholic tradition, the heart isn't just a bunch of feelings, it's the very core of who we are. It's the place where our intellect, our will, and our emotions converge, basically the sanctuary of the soul. The heart includes our deepest longings, yet without reason and grace, it is very deceptive. Think of it this way. There's a way of understanding the world called the natural law. By natural law, I don't mean law of the jungle or the laws of physics. Think of a natural law as a sort of divine blueprint. It's a moral framework that's actually written into the very fabric of our being. It's the internal logic of what it means to be a human being. It is the instruction manual for the soul that God tucked away inside of us when He created us. And it doesn't really matter what your religion is. We all have the natural law working within us, even if you are an adherent to the religion of atheism. Natural law, in a word, are all the things that we cannot not know simply because we are human beings. But here's the problem. We often mistake our surface level impulses for this deeper law. We think that because we feel a strong desire for something, that desire must be natural or correct. But just because a desire is strong doesn't mean it's leading you toward your true purpose. Just because a feeling is intense, it doesn't mean it's leading you to the truth. The prophet Jeremiah didn't mince words when he said that the heart is deceitful above all things. And that's a tough thing to hear. It's not a very popular sentiment in a world that worships self-expression. But think about how your own experience has led you. How many times have you felt absolutely certain about a choice, only to realize later on that you were driven by fear or pride or a momentary spark of passion that burned out as quickly as it began? If we're just following our feelings, we aren't leading our lives. We're being dragged along by them. We become like a ship without a rudder, tossed around by every wave of emotion. Our feelings are wonderful servants, to be sure, but I promise you, They can also be cruel taskmasters. They are reactive. They're influenced by things like how much sleep we got, or maybe by what someone said to us, or even by the gloominess of the afternoon sky. You see, there's a deep fragmentation that happens when we let our desires sit in the driver's seat of our lives. We start to believe that our true self is whatever we happen to want in this exact moment. But which you is the real you? Is it the you that wants to be disciplined and virtuous, or the you that wants to give in to anger or resentment? Without a higher principle to govern these competing desires, we can never be truly free. We end up in chaos. We find ourselves trapped in a cycle of chasing the next feeling of rightness, only to find that it vanishes the moment we try to grasp it. And this leads us to a very sobering question. If my heart isn't a reliable internal compass by itself, then what is? If I cannot trust the deepest feelings within me to guide my path in life, where am I supposed to turn for guidance? And this is where the beauty of the Catholic tradition offers us a lifeline. You see, the church doesn't tell us to suppress our hearts or become unfeeling robots. Far from it. The goal isn't to kill the heart, but to properly order it. And the tool that God has given us for this is something called our conscience. Now, we have to be careful here because in the modern world, people often think that conscience is just a gut feeling. They think it's a permission slip to do whatever they want as long as they feel good about it. You know the old saying, if it feels good, do it, right? But that's not what a conscience is. A conscience is an act of the intellect. It's the mind making a judgment. It's the process of applying the light of the natural law to a specific situation. You might even call that prudence or wisdom. But here's the catch. A conscience can be wrong. It can be mistaken. It can be clouded by our culture, by our habits, or by our own desires or preferences. And that's why it is so important. In fact, it's a duty for a Christian to have a well-formed conscience. Everyone has a conscience, just like everyone has an opinion, but they're not all well-formed. So think of your conscience like a high precision instrument, like a telescope. If the lenses are dirty or out of alignment, you won't actually see the stars as they are. You will see a blurred, distorted version of them. And so formation is the process of cleaning those lenses in your telescope. It's the lifelong work of aligning our inner judgment with the objective truth that God has revealed to us. Our feelings provide the power and the passion, to be sure, but the well-formed conscience is the steering wheel, and it is guided by the compass of natural law and the light of grace. If you have passion with no direction, you have a disaster. If you have direction but no heart, you're going nowhere. We're called to live a life where our reason is enlightened by truth, so that our hearts can finally be trained to desire what is actually the good. Think about the concept of virtue. Virtue isn't just following the rules, you know. Virtue is the habit of doing the good. It's the process of educating your heart. When you first try to do the right thing, you might not be in it. You might feel that that's not what you want to do. It might feel difficult or inauthentic, even. But as you persist, as you align your actions with the objective truth rather than subjective feelings, something like a miracle can happen. You begin to change. You start to love the things that are truly worthwhile. You stop being a slave to your impulses and start becoming the master of your soul. And this is the secret that the world won't tell you. That true freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you feel like doing. True freedom is the power, the ability to do what you ought to do. It's the freedom of the musician who's practiced for years. They aren't following their heart by hitting random notes. They've disciplined their hands and their minds so they can finally play the masterpiece. Their heart is now expressed through the structure of the music, not in spite of it. And so instead of following your heart, I want to invite you to guard it. Don't let every passing emotion dictate the direction of your life. Rather, look upward to the timeless truths that don't change when your mood does. Look to the natural law that God has written into your very soul and develop a well formed conscience using timeless truths. Now, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Did you agree with this? Did something here challenge you? Join the conversation and let us know in the comments section below. Also, please subscribe, like, and share this video so that others may benefit, because a life examined is a life well lived. God be with you.